After almost 2 decades of war, this could have been the big break. But no, back to war. As luck would have it, peace and negotiations weren't on the media's mind when they found out. They were outraged that Trump should dare talk to the enemy, those murderous villains who dare fight against the US occupation.
The problem with the cancelled Afghanistan talks was not the timing, locale or recent Taliban violence. It was the reality that the talks were designed to provide a cover for US troop withdrawal rather than peace, and would help the Taliban while undermining the Afghan government.
Never should leaders of a terrorist organisation that hasn't renounced 9/11 and continues in evil be allowed in our great country. Never. Full stop.
For the U.S. to meet with the Taliban and not have the leader of Afghanistan to meet with the Taliban is something that's doomed to failure.
The whole thing doesn't quite make sense to me, and it's just another example of the president treating foreign policy like it's some kind of game show. This isn't a game show. These are terrorists.
Listening to them, you'd never know that by the late 90s, the Taliban, which was already hosting Osama bin Laden, were invited to the US as honored guests for business by a US energy company. Talks and laying pipelines. Talks supported by the government.
The CIA was very, very helpful. You know, they have this shadowy image, I guess you call it, but I found them very straightforward and very professional. And I think the Clinton administration was really committed to helping, American business be successful. And we enjoyed really strong support from the U.S. government.
Former military analyst Julie Sears wrote a report for the Defense Intelligence Agency pointing out that there were alternatives to the Taliban. It really didn't go down well with her superiors.
The State Department didn't want to have anything to do with Afghan resistance or even politically to reveal that there was any viable option to the Taliban.
She was apparently forced out soon after.
I heard that some people at the State Department were people among those more sympathetic with the Taliban at that time, so there might have been some political reasons as well, but ultimately I was forced to leave.
A year later, bin Laden and al-Qaeda orchestrated 2 attacks on US embassies in Africa, 224 people killed. And yet still, the US entertained the Taliban. The same Taliban then governing Afghanistan and which tolerated al-Qaeda on its soil was invited back to the US in 2001 on an official state visit during which jihadist dignitaries explained their virtuous treatment of women.
And now when there's peace, there's security, women are going back to schools, women are working. It is right that our women do not work in the Ministry of Defense. It's right that we don't use them as objects of advertisements. It's right that they are not used for many other things that women shouldn't be.
4 months before 9/11, the US sent $43 million to the Taliban, a reward for fighting narcotics trafficking. Who would have known that just months later, America would invade to start a war that would last for almost 2 decades?
The United States had been cooperating with Mujahideen in Afghanistan for a long time. They didn't see them as that dangerous. They saw them as people who would stay over there, and they thought they could use them. This changed on 9/11. Today, inviting the Taliban to the United States to try to arrange what they call a peace deal is a very difficult optics for the president, especially as we get close to the anniversary of the September bombing. On the one hand, it does seem hypocritical for the United States to meet with the Taliban today after promising to destroy them. On the other hand, it's the necessity of defeat. The United States has been fighting for 18 years, and the American public is tired of it. So the president's in a dilemma. He wants to look strong, and he wants to help American allies, but at the same time, the cost has gotten bigger and bigger, and the American public are fed up.
There you have it. The US wouldn't hear a bad word about the Taliban. Invited them over as honored guests, planned to build pipelines together. But peace talks in 2019, that obviously is something America just can't entertain.